hospital itself. The only location damage is outside the hospital, in the parking lot, where we can see signs of burning, which I will show later, no cratering, and no structural damage to nearby buildings, as opposed to the damage caused by any aerial munition, which would have been of different nature.
Well, there is grief across the region on both sides, and others are in limbo, waiting to hear about the fate of loved ones missing following Hamas's attack. Well, Shani Segal joins us live from Tel Aviv. Now, Shani is one of those waiting to hear back about her cousin, Ramon, who is missing and presumed kidnapped. Shani, can you tell us when you last heard from him?
From her and her husband, yes. Good morning. Thank you for having me. First of all, before I tell you the story, I just want to say no civilians should get affected from war in terror. And Hamas is a terror organization. 6:30 in the morning, my family was in the safety of their home. The rockets started, and I said it before, and I'll say it again, sadly enough, my family are used to rockets. They go to a safe room, they stay there. Just to give you a little bit of proportions, you have 15 seconds to get to a safe room, which means that if you have two children and one of them is playing outside and one of them is playing in the kitchen and you need to save them, in 15 seconds, you will not be able to get to the both of them and get to a safe room. That's the situation that my family is enduring. 6:30 in the morning, my cousin texted her mom saying, I'm in the safe room, there's rockets, everything was standard. But then at 7 in the morning, she texted that there are two gun terrorists outside of the window, that they're going line by line, because the houses in the kibbutz are built in lines. So they're going line by line, shooting, burning, killing, yelling. And she was very, very scared. Her mom texted her to hid and to be safe, and just for her and her husband Yagev to be very, very quiet, that no one would hear them. Just imagine the situation where you can't call your daughter or you can't call your son and ask if they're okay because you're scared that somebody would hear the phone ring and try to kill them. At 8:26 in the morning, she texted her mom that they're shooting at their window, and they're shooting at them. And she left a voice memo to her mom saying, I love you, Mom. I love you so much. I'm sorry I'm not there for you. And that was the last time that we heard from my cousin, October 7th at 8:30 in the morning,
Shani,
which means...
Shani, I really appreciate you being on Talk today. And these are the sorts of stories that we want to do, because we can talk about the military aspect, we can talk about diplomacy, but the human interest, the reality, the humanitarian reality of what's going on is important to Nick and I. I'm not going to disrespect you by saying, oh, what do you know? Obviously, you're, as many people are, waiting for news. Now, one of the things that's talked about over here and across the world is the hostage situation and how Israel has an absolute internationally law-binding legal right to go and get those hostages back. Of course, the debate, the humanitarian debate, then centres on what that could involve. We know about this matrix of tunnels underneath Gaza. We know what the IDF have said. As a Jewish lady whose cousin and her husband are, at this moment, could be anywhere in the arms of terrorists, what do you want your country to do? And what, do you understand that people will look and go, what happened last night in Gaza, whoever's to blame, that's what's going to happen with retribution? And I think there was a quite right outpouring of international outrage about what those terrorists did 10 days ago. And I think people have great sympathy, but I think they're concerned now as to what might come next. What do you want to happen?
What I want to happen, you need to understand that the individuals that live in Israel, the Jewish people that live in Israel, came from all over the world as part of either it was the Holocaust or other attributions against Jewish people. Which means that if you ask me what I would like to happen, is that the whole world would fight together against terror and get the hostages. back. It's not only the responsibility of the Israeli people or the Israeli government. That, if you ask me what would be the ideal situation for me, is we know that we have powerful partners. I consider the UK, I would say, a second home. When my late grandfather was 2 years old, he was sent with the children transport from Berlin, where he lived, to Scotland. He grew up in Scotland. He grew up in Ayr. So the United Kingdom was the place that saved my grandfather in the Holocaust. And that's what I wanted to do. I want everyone to join and help to get the hostages, all of them, back and fight against terror.
Are you concerned about the methods by which Israel and its allies are going about retrieving hostages, that it could increase the amount of danger that they will be under? You know, we've been talking about this so much this morning. Obviously, I'll thank you so much for coming on the show, and in what must be such a traumatic and stress-inducing time. But are there concerns about the way in which Israel will go about retrieving people such as your cousin?
Look, I usually, when I speak, I like to be educated. So I do want to say that there are certain things that I am not educated in, and I'm okay with it. Military tactics is not one of them. I trust the Israeli government. I know the Israeli government will do anything in their power to make sure that civilians will not be affected by any process that they do. But you need to understand that as we are held in the terror of Hamas, so does the Palestinians.
Yes.
And it's important to say that.
Yes.
I have Palestinian friends. I've got Protestant friends. I've got Christian friends. I've got Indian friends. And I have to say that in this situation, the terror organization that is called Hamas is holding both sides, both civilians, and they're making much more damage than anything that the Israeli government is doing.
I think it's really interesting, Shani, because everybody over here is quite rightly saying, yes, the Israelis have said leave by the south, and we've talked about that, the Ramallah border in Egypt. But we have to make this point. We can move beyond, Hamas did what they did. And Israel has a right under international law with its partners to consider the rightful way to do it. I think there's a relevance, by the way, that they've pulled back in the last 24 hours. I think negotiations and conversations are being done. But we must not forget, by the way, that terrorist group Hamas has not actively helped those people get out of Gaza. And and I'm delighted because every Jewish person I've spoke to has made that point about Palestinians. The Palestinians are in the hand of Hamas as well. And I think that is a really, don't you? I think it's a really essential point. And I've heard that from many, many people. Of course, the world will watch on Shani and will go, how is this going to be? You obviously from a hostage point of view, but you make the point, honestly. Nobody wants loss of life, right?
Nobody.
Well,
and if I may, I just want to say that we are all humans. My cousin is 36-year-old. She loves plants, music. She takes all the wounded animals, the animals that no one wants. Do you look at them and say, who would adopt them? That's my cousin. Her and her husband, that's what they do. They have agriculture hands. They take care of animals. They love music. The community that would suffer the most in Israel is the community that believes the most in coexistence. And it's something that needs to be said, that the terrorists that came into the kibbutz and took my cousin and her husband from the safety of their home are hurting the individuals and took the individuals that if you ask them, like if my cousin, I wish that she was here today with us, she would have said, of course I want there to be peace. I mean, of course I want to make coexistence. Of course I believe that everyone should, be together and that the world should be sunshine and rainbows. But once you put in terror to the equation, it has no place. And we felt when, and I can't forget it, on 7/7, we were sitting here shaking and saying people went to work and terrorists bombed them. And here, just imagine that it was our Saturday, it was our holiday. So I take imagine Christmas morning. You're with your family, Christmas morning, you're in the safety of your home. All of a sudden, there's rockets. You have 15 seconds to get to a safe room. And in that safe room, they're trying to burn you alive, burn the house so you would run away or suffocate to death. That is not, they've beheaded individuals, they've beheaded babies, children, they've done unspeakable things. This is terror, and the world should unite together against terror.
Shani, that is the second amazingly powerful interview this morning. We appreciate your honesty, incredibly raw, and thank you for joining us on Talk Today.
Thank you for talking about your cousin, and thank you for talking about who she is, who they are as a couple as well, because I think so often when news like this hits, we focus on numbers and not the people behind the numbers. There they are there.
Yeah, the cousin and husband.
Thank you so much for joining us and telling us your
story. Really appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.